I'll be presenting a lot of the content today. I do have some other folks to kind of support our discussion as we kind of go through. IllumiWrap, it's essentially kind of a hybrid fixture. It's not quite a luminaire, but it's not quite a sign product. It's a product actually used to downlight. You know, as we had a lot of sign shops listing, this is a product you should think about, you know, organic business, bring to existing customers. You might have a solution of something you can provide even before they know there's a need, when you kind of understand the advantages of IllumiWrap. So moving to our next slide. Lauren? Thank you. What is ACB? We've developed and coined the term ACB, architectural, custom, and border. Architectural, custom, and border, kind of all three fit IllumiWrap in one sense or another. You can see the building on the left, that's an IllumiWrap product put out on a soffit that comes out about 18 inches, and it paints that entire building with light, as well as put some security lighting down at the sidewalk level and so forth. In terms of custom, we custom assemble this. We make a lot of different colors. It can even be made to kind of look like a border during the day on a building, and then at nighttime, as it hangs over a parapet wall, it washes light completely down. Next slide. Architectural approach. We'll talk a little bit about the go-to-market strategy on IllumiWrap before we get into a lot of the specifics on it. Again, another picture here. And the takeaway of this photograph is that IllumiWrap is on the very top parapet of this building, and it's literally throwing light and washing it all the way down to the surface. Hello there. You guys can kind of see the sidewalk from grade, you know, 25, 30 feet above that building. For as much of a branding, this is a safety sell. We've talked to a lot of different people, a lot of different trade shows. I mean, there's certainly some major marketers out there that build a system almost identical to this. A lot of success in wrapping buildings that maybe there's a lot of vagrancy. You know, you don't want people, you know, standing in the shadows, smoking a cigarette, drinking beer, Coca-Cola, right against that building. And this kind of lights that up. Nobody wants to be under the spotlight at night. We'll go into the next slide. Talk a little bit about our target customer, essentially sign and branding companies that kind of serve end users that have multiple sites and generally self-standing buildings. Now, the building that you see in this photograph here happens to anchor a strip mall, and they had a lot of issues with vagrancy. It was really dark. They put this on for pure security, light this up, make the employees feel safer. What happened is their business increased tremendously, and it paid for itself in about 8 or 9 months. We're not chasing the gas station, the canopy market at all. That is served by many folks already in that arena. IllumiWrap provides more of that local feel, kind of smaller, mid-sized sign shops. You know, you work with maybe a local coffee brewer who opens up real early in the morning and then generally stays open after the sun sets, especially during the winter hours and so forth. That's kind of your target customer. People have often said, oh, car washes. Like, well, if car washes want their brand lit up at night, that's great, but most of the car washes I've seen kind of close right when that sun starts to set. So kind of think about that as you're thinking about different customers. And again, this is a great bolt-on product. We have one little example at the bottom. We worked with somebody a year and a half ago that put this up at about 80 buildings. And basically during the PM hours, they kind of track sales for 12 months. They saw an increase in sales, and it was number of sales, transactions at just over 6%. It literally, again, paid for itself in about 9 months after the purchase of the product and the installation. And it's where you want to stop at night. Next slide. So here's a little bit of the specifications on the IllumiWrap. We're launching this in 4 different colors. The design is the same for all. The module inside is 5,000 Kelvin temperature, which seems to be more kind of that building light. It's not too cool, it's not too warm. Talk a little bit about the 10-foot and 5-foot. although it's really kind of nominal. There's a 118-inch and there's a 59-inch, and just nominal 10-foot, 5-foot essentially. You can kind of see at the bottom where there's a gasketed screw. That's your attachment point right behind the parapet. And behind a parapet on the building is the strongest place for attachment. These do come with a wind load, 150 miles an hour, engineered and tested. There's also a building seal kit tape that's kind of optional. You can say, yeah, I want it. It's a couple bucks more, or I don't want it. You don't want to use silicone necessarily because a lot of these buildings today may have a retrofit roof situation. They may be new to market. That roofing comes with a 30, 40, 50-year guarantee, but you cannot penetrate that roofing. It voids your warranty. All applications where you use this building seal kit tape, you go to your roofer and say, hey, are you okay if I penetrate my parapet wall, but I'm going to put this gasket down? We have not had one that's rejected and not done the continued warranty on those. Talk about run footage. This is 24-volt system. 196 watt HE driver will run basically 2 sections, so almost 20 feet. We sell a quick box, and we can kind of move into the next page, talks a little bit further about some of the further specifications. IllumiWrap's sold as a package. You can't just go buy a bunch of 10-footers and then use an off-the-shelf power supply. When we're creating this fixture, it's a system. It's complete with these quick boxes that mount the drivers. That quick box could be mounted flat on a parapet wall. It can also be mounted vertical, as our quick boxes did in the past. This one gives you a couple of both options. Now, each of these drivers, A and B, has a connector on it. And those of you that are real familiar with some of the Sloan products like Lead Stripe and Colorline and so forth, there's a Molex connector on that. Those connectors have been used from me talking to all kinds of folks at Sloan for about 18 to 20 years essentially. No failure issues with that connection system at all. But each driver will have 2 receptacles. So with a double box, you can essentially run 4 pieces of IllumiWrap. It could be 4 10-footers. It could be 1 5-footer and 3 10-footers. It could be a corner kit, which is approximately 10 foot, 159 and 2 10-footers. 4 parts regardless of part. Everything is plug and play with the system. So when we produce the actual IllumiWrap, the 5 and 10-footer, there's a wire, and that wire whip is kind of a UV landscape grade product, and it's 20 foot long. So if you've got roughly 40 foot of IllumiWrap, your quick box kind of mounts somewhere in the middle, and you got a few feet either way to bring all 4 of those wire whips over to this box. The only thing we really don't source here is any little silicone that may be needed for anything, and then obviously the mounting hardware, depending upon surface, brick, stucco, other variations. There's probably some different size gasketed screws that you'll want to use for attachment. We'll move into the next slide. So how to order IllumiWrap. This is kind of our timeline of creating a quote, putting in an order. There's some different collateral. One of the collateral we have is kind of an IllumiWrap survey form. Basically, this form will detail of, it's a square, it's got sides, 1, 2, 3, 4. You literally put in your feet and inches of this building. Let's say it's 4-sided. You pick a color, and essentially that kind of gets sent into us. Now, there might be a question on there about a fork, 6-foot forks for a forklift. Do you need a truck that can load and unload, kind of that loading dock on that truck? Some of that stuff costs extra from a delivery standpoint. This could be hand unloaded for some of you with smaller shops. Maybe you don't have the big raised dock, or this is maybe you're some installers and some folks that go out and do lighting projects, and you don't have a huge type of office and so forth. But IllumiWrap does come, and it's shipped on 122-inch pallets. But this survey form that kicks off the very beginning here is essential. For those of you that have ever ran an RGB job through us, we basically have an RGB checklist. We really need that filled out. Once you do that, oh, please go ahead.
No, I just wanted to interject really quick and tell everyone that survey form is in the handout section. So if you'd like to pull that up, be able to kind of look at that as Jeff is talking through, it's there for you to download, but it'll also be on the website for you as well.
Perfect, thank you. Once you complete that form, you could certainly send that in to our layouts at pled.com, kind of our standard layout platform. And I encourage you, please copy your day-to-day contact, your salesperson, if you got somebody certain on the inside you work with. IllumiWrap's new. We kind of special attention as we're launching this product. There's a little more to it than just selling bags of modules or selling 8-foot sticks of border and so forth. Once that survey form comes in, a layout will be generated. We want to make sure that when this is quoted, it's accurate and we're not 10 foot short or you've got 20 foot too much, because it's somewhat of an expensive product. So that completed layout is then sent to our distributor, the customer for approval. And once that kind of comes back to us, we'll essentially generate a quote. That quote kind of gets sent back to the distributor to go out, and the rest of the process would kind of be in order, is converted. We kind of want 3 weeks roughly to pick, pack, ship this product. Sometimes it might be 5 or 6 days, but we're kind of looking at that 2 to 3 weeks approximately once a PO is received to ship the product. Moving to the next slide. So that's kind of the survey form that we were talking about right there. Is a lift gate needed? Again, if it has to be shipped that way, again, it's going to cost more. Those pass-through costs will come through on your quotation if that is checked. Kind of shipping information, you're buying this from your valued distributor. Do you want it shipped right to you? Do you want it shipped to a job site? Do you want it shipped to a distributor of your choice, and so forth? And it's just kind of a guideline, and everything can kind of be changed and so forth. But this is generally what we need to generate a layout for you and give you kind of a bundled, kitted quote for that project. Next slide. So we talked about the layout process. I think Jeff Fassett, if you're on, if you want to go ahead and kind of walk through these next couple slides.
Sure. Hi, Jeff. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, Jeff.
Yeah, so we are doing layouts for IllumiWrap in LED Wizard 8. We've added the capability to make these layouts in LED Wizard. And so you might be thinking, well, what if I have a building that's not just a rectangle, right? What if it's a more complicated shape and it's got some parts that come out and that sort of thing. So we'll be doing those layouts in LED Wizard 8 as well. So we're asking for top-down vector artwork in order to create layouts in LED Wizard 8. And we're saying here straight lines and right angles only. So, these are all straight. All the corners are 90-degree corners. So it wouldn't be a good product if, if the building was round or had, different angles and things like that. Top-down view is what we're after. And so we'll make the layouts, and then we will allow you to see them and approve them. As the nature of this product is such that there are field cuts, and so this product is field cuttable, and we will show that on the layout, and we'll show a dimension, and we'll indicate that it is to be field cut. And I'll show you a couple layouts here in a second. And obviously, don't make those field cuts until you get on site. Sometimes buildings aren't quite as perfect as our dimensions or as the field survey. There's also end caps and a seal kit, and I think maybe Jeff will talk more about those, but we're also showing those on the layouts, and those are items that you can purchase along with the IllumiWrap. So let's go to the next slide, and I have a simple rectangle, and so let's say that you have a building, it's a 4-sided building. This is basically what a layout is going to look like, and you can see that the sections are color coded, and you might recognize this if you've sent any flex jobs into us, where we label each section with a number, and it's color coded according to the driver. So if you look to the left where you see the numbers 1 and 2, as Jeff was saying, that's 2 sections that are going to go onto one 96-watt driver. you can see it says 38 inches FC. FC stands for field cut. So that would be a 59-inch section that you're cutting down to 38 inches. You then go to the corner, the green section, and that's 58 inches in each direction, goes around that corner, another 118 piece. So pieces 3 and 4 go on the second driver, and both of those drivers go into that quick box. Okay, so that's 4 units that all go into that quick box. And we just continue around the outside of the shape, going around clockwise to the blue sections and the orange, and then down to the right. And then when we get to the lower left, we have just 2 sections left, and so that goes on a single driver, and that goes in a single quick box. And then you can see the driver load and the driver count as well. And of course, all the units are also have dimensions on them. So then the title block template that's shown here on the right is going to roll up this data. We show the amp draw, the perimeter, how many 118 pieces, how many 59-inch pieces, how many corners, and then how many double quick boxes and single quick boxes, and these are all complete with their part numbers. And then you can see end caps. And in this case, technically end caps wouldn't be needed because this is completely enclosed, a closed loop. If you have inside corners or you have gaps around the building, then those would get an end cap. Okay, and the end caps are sold in pairs, so you would get a left and right set. And then there's the seal kit, and the seal kit comes in 25-foot sections. And so we just do the math as to the overall footage, and then we suggest how many seal kits. Okay, so that's a basic, and even if you use the survey form and you have a basic rectangle and you send a job in, we're going to go ahead and make a layout for you. This layout here is a little bit more complicated. This is open on the bottom, and it has what we call inside corners. So those corner pieces are for outside corners. When you go to an inside corner here in the blue, those are field cuts with an end cap. Okay, and then of course we continue to go around, and we have some field cuts, and you can see how this goes. So this is how we would do a more complicated shape, and in our testing we've done some really large and complicated buildings, and the system works well to create all this data for you. So this is sort of what you should expect. Again, top down, if you have elevation drawings, it's not that we can't do those, it's just a little trickier because of those outside corner pieces. So if all possible, we'd like a top down, but this is basically what you can expect, and this is going to go again through our internal layout team. It's in LED Wizard 8, but it's not publicly available to everybody. It's going to be utilized by our internal team. So Jeff, back to you. I think that's it for my side on layouts. And again, guys, layouts@pindustries.com.
Fantastic, Jeff. And we talk, sometimes you may see buildings with multiple elevations. And I think the best way to tackle that, maybe you have a building and there's like 3 towers that go up another 10 feet, and they want to put this product up there, as well as 12 feet above grade. I would probably send a separate survey form for each elevation, one a 2 and 2 a 2, just to put a little note in there. This talks a little bit about IllumiWrap from an installation standpoint. We kind of have a corner treatment that's actually been redesigned where it just have a single wire whip for a corner. Corners are like 58 inch by 58 inch, so roughly approximately 10 foot of footage. They're painted ends. We don't cut the miters after everything's painted. As Jeff had mentioned about a field cut, you could, instead of cutting through a module, you can kind of pry that module up and kind of replace it in there. Better to have a little bit more brightness that blends in versus a shadow by removing an LED completely, because you might just cut through the end of it or so forth. And our folks are real savvy. I mean, the group we're talking to, they understand it, they get it, they install, and so forth. We have some seam tab splice bars. I think we've decided to integrate those into the fixture prior to powder coating, so you can use those as a guide as you're putting the pieces together in the field. You'll see that little end cap right there. That's actually pressed bent, routed, complicated little piece, but it shows you a little trick where you bend the metal tab down to kind of create some pressure where you screw that on. And that's when you have a field cut, as Jeff had mentioned. You're terminating. Never is it a perfect yield. And that end cap, although it hangs over that front lip about 1.5 inches, covers up that raw paint from a field cut. And that's why the end cap is designed the way it is versus slipping inside. So from an architectural standpoint, 12, 15, 20 foot up in a building, you don't see that. But again, that end is treated and it looks nice and squared off and so forth. Next page. A little bit more of the layout that Jeff had kind of went to with field cut. There'll be start points on the layout and so forth. We had some questions from some prior internal calls and just with our distributors only. Hey, I've got a 200-foot run. What happens if something got damaged or hit by a truck? You don't have to remove the full 200-foot because of those seam plates. You can essentially kind of loosen those two and wiggle one of those pieces out a little bit. And as Jeff also had mentioned and demonstrated, that treatment at the bottom is the right way to do that, where you have, two 59-inch pieces that you've cut down versus just a 96, and it leaves kind of that 12-inch gap, that seam, wind load type stuff, and how that works. We want that to be a minimum of 24 inches, and that's what Jeff and his team will strive for on those layouts. Go to the next one. These are the different resources that Lauren has posted during kind of our discussion. Talks a little bit about our spec sheet, what's available, how to get it, our 4 colors and survey form, and a little bit more in depth about the installation and so forth. One thing on the survey form, 5,000 is the color. There are some other colors available. There's probably a little bit longer lead times. There's certainly dark skies kind of happen out in the West and certainly in Arizona where you're required to use a 3,000 Kelvin. And we kind of have those LEDs developed, but again, we can do it. We won't say no. And questions? Do we have any questions from the audience?
As a reminder, you can send those questions in through the questions tab or through the chat window, and we're happy to read those out loud, have Jeff Brazen or Jeff Bassett jump in and answer them. We'll stay on for a couple of minutes to allow you to send those in if you have questions, but that's the bulk of the content we have prepared for you all. So please feel free to drop off if you don't have questions. Again, those handouts are in the handout section for you, and this product is live on our website, so you can also download anything there. And thank you again for joining us. We appreciate having you guys on. Jeff and I will stay on again for just a few more minutes. If you have those questions, send them in. Otherwise, sure. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. And I'll kind of rattle off a couple other things if we're waiting for a question or two possibly. So one of the custom colors is white. The idea behind the white, if that's put up on a building, and let's say your customer wanted a vibrant green, probably the best way to achieve that, if you can paint, you can scuff up that surface and just kind of paint that front. You really only see the front of the IllumiWrap, kind of that 3 inches that points downward. This cantilever is from the building 4 inches, but again, that front face, you can also put a custom color vinyl on that. Now, if you need something that says, oh my goodness, we're going to have 20, 30 sites over the next 18 months, can I run and powder coat that color? Yes. Again, some lead times will apply and so forth. I encourage anybody listening, get with your local rep for Principal LED. We've got the country covered, including Canada. They'll have some demo pieces to kind of go out and show this. Your distributors will have access to some samples, a little pass-through fee on that samples. They're very, very expensive to make and so forth.
Hey, Jeff, we do have a question.
Sure.
So how far will the light travel down the wall from where this product is mounted?
So we have some kind of before and after instances where certainly, the distance like kind of, degrades and the lux kind of go away. But from a task lighting standpoint, lighting up a sidewalk and so forth, we've seen this at 25 feet and it does a really nice job of lighting up that sidewalk. You could certainly put it at 100 foot, and that's going to probably trickle off around that 40-foot era, where you 40, 45 feet, where there's just nothing. And it's somewhat subjective. I mean, there's not accurate science behind this. A lot of it matters with how much ambient light is in the parking lot. You're real close in the city. Are you further out where it's dark, dark? So there are some other variations, as well as building structure. You know, is it dark brick? Is the building white? So again, somewhat subjective, but that's a great question.
Awesome, thank you for that. And that's all the questions we have. So all of your regional reps, like Jeff mentioned, will be able to answer questions for you. So please get with them if you have them after today's call, or feel free to reach out to anyone on this call and we'll be happy to help. You all will receive an email after the conclusion of today's call with a recording, so you can go back and rewatch if there's something you're wanting to go back and listen to. And there will be links to our website where everything is located so that you have all of the resources in one location. So keep an eye out for that. And thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Lauren, thank you, and thank you everybody for joining. Have a great day.